We will be continuing with shapes in the coordinate plane, but this time we're not proving that a shape is a certain type of shape. We're going to be finding its perimeter. In order to find perimeter, we need to know the distance of all of the sides of the shape so that we can add them all together. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of some object. So some of these side lengths will be easily found because they're vertical or horizontal lines, so you'll be able to count their measurements. Others of them, not so much. Any side length that is on what I would guess I would call a diagonal or has a slope other than 0 or undefined, you're going to have to use the distance formula, or you can set up a right triangle around the shape so that you can use the Pythagorean theorem. That would take us back to Unit 1, calculating distance using either the distance formula or the Pythagorean theorem. So in case you've forgotten the distance formula, I have it over here. You may want to write that in your notes so that you can use that to find the distance of, or the length of, sides. Okay? So, for example, as I mentioned before, if I want to find the length of AB, AB is a vertical line, so all I'm going to have to do is count the spaces for that one. A is 2 units above 0, B is 2 units below 0, so the length of AB is going to be 4. We're going to have to add all of these together. And I know that that's 4. And I just counted the spaces to get that. Now I want to find the length of BC. Well, BC is a line that has a slope to it, so therefore I can't just count the spaces to find its length. And I don't want to find its slope either. I want to find its length. But one thing about BC and CD, even though it may not look like it in my picture, I'm sorry, I tried to do the best I could, but B and D are going to be the same distance from C. B is at -4, -2, D is at 4, -2, and C is kind of in the middle of those two at 0, -3. I see why it doesn't look quite right. Oh no. Might have been a little high before. Obviously my intervals are not equal, so you'll just have to take it for what it's worth. But if I want to find the length of BC, I'm going to substitute these numbers into the distance formula. So BC is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So -4 minus 0, and I'm just going to put here that it's equal to CD because those two sides have the same length. -4 minus 0 is going to be -4. -2 minus -3 is going to be 1. And when I square these, I'm going to get 16 and 1. So I'm going to have the square root of 17. I'm not going to find out what that is right now. I'll get that in a bit. Okay, now I have to do the distance formula for the length of DE, and then I'll have to do it separately for EA because they won't have the same measure. DE, x minus x. It does not matter which one you put first. Oops, sorry. Y minus y. So 4 minus 2 is 2. I'm going to square that in a bit. -2 minus 3 is -5. When I square those values, 2 squared is 4. 5 squared or -5 squared, either one is going to be 25. So this DE will be the square root of 29. which I'm putting up here in my notes or where I'm keeping track of my lengths. And now I'm gonna have to find a spot to do EA. Try to keep it all on the screen for you. EA's length, 2 minus -4. Three minus 2. So that will be 6 squared and 1 squared. 36 plus 1, sorry, that kind of looks like a 12, will be the square root of 37. Okay, then I would grab a calculator and type in those 4 measurements into my calculator and add them together. The ones on your problems, the answers on your problems, they did not seem to be as involved as that. So if you do have a square root in your lengths though, you'll see here in a little bit what you're gonna do to find your measurements. Your answers were all whole numbers for your problems. 4 plus the square root of 17, and then just make sure you're not underneath there to keep going, plus the square root of 17, plus the square root of 29, I'm going to type these in and then I'll show you my screen, plus the square root of 37. Okay, so the 4 is still over there, we just ran out of room on the calculator screen, and when you hit enter, you're going to find out that the perimeter is about 23 7/10. For yours, remember, your answers are all whole number answers, so you won't have to worry about the decimals like I did. And don't forget, if you have horizontal or vertical lines, there really is no need to do the distance formula. Just go ahead and count the measurements, the distance between the points, and you should be good to go.